Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District, a DC sports channel bringing you the best content here on YouTube and wherever you listen to audio platforms as well. We stream live every Wednesday at 7:30. Check us out there for our Washington Commanders content that we love to provide you. But right now, it's our next one in the series of Start, Bench, and Cut. This time, we're taking a look at the running backs to include our man, Antonio Gibson, this time going up against Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley. I get the right. I know Trev is ready to jump on me. Ready to jump on me for that one. And then Austin Ekeler is the other name here. And you can see them down on the bottom. We're going to do that so that way you can always kind of keep track no matter where you are in there. Let's start off with our start. And Trev, I want to go to you first here.
I'm starting Austin Ekeler. Yes, I am. He's valuable. He's reliable. He's a good pass catching running back out of the backfield. He's also pretty physical and strong for his short size. He's pretty fast. He's a very nice compliment to Justin Herbert and what the Chargers are doing over there. I like Austin Ekeler a lot. I like him a lot. Start the man. Go ahead.
All right. You said that was interesting, Stoner. Are you going to go with him? Are you going to go against him here? I mean, the pedigree leans a different way.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I still haven't decided yet.
Really?
I'm going to need to hear Nathan's rationale before I come up with my final decision.
So what you're saying is you need to hear stats before you come up with it.
gotta hear them. We all know I'm a stat guy. Those guys do the sniff test. Stoner might be a little questionable on his sniff test.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure.
Trev, I'm with you. I'm with you, man. It's Austin Ekeler here. I kind of mentioned that pedigree. Saquon has the pedigree, right? He's the one who's the most highly touted out of them. He, has that potential to be there, but there's that pesky injury, and then these last couple of years have not been exciting, even outside of the injury. Right, when you're not looking just at the injury numbers, his numbers have taken a huge hit. Yards and average on rushing 1.8 there with just the 19 rushes the year that he got injured, and then 3.7 per attempt this past year coming off of the injury. So that's the reason why I'm not going to go with Saquon in the start role. You mentioned pass catching back. Saquon does some serious work there as well. 41 catches this last year. His rookie year, 91 catches. I mean, if we're looking at just the rookie year, you got to take Saquon. But we're not just looking at the rookie year.
That was 4 years ago.
That was a long time ago. Now, Austin has taken a little bit to kind of get in the league. His first 2 years, not exactly impressive. Still not that great of a rusher, really looking at the last 3 years. Has failed to get 1,000 yards. Now, but you talk about that pass catching. He has been valuable there. In fact, in 2019, had 993 yards receiving, had 647 last year. So I think overall, the production that you're going to get out of Austin Ekeler is where I want to be as far as a start. Yeah. And because he's that dual threat on receiving for the last 3 years has been just absolutely 70 catches last year, 92 that year that I mentioned that he had nearly 1,000 yards. I think that he's that dual threat, nice complement to an offense that you're going to want to start. And that's where I'm at with that.
All right. Well, that actually makes this easy then because we know that the two of you teaming up on the same guy is a recipe for disaster. So there's no way I can do that. I can't do that.
So who are you going to start?
So I made my decision. I'm starting Antonio Gibson. Why? I have been a Gibson guy from day one. He hasn't necessarily lived up to the expectations yet. But you have to remember, coming out of college, he was a wide receiver in college. He had 33 total rushes his entire college career. And Washington has turned him into a running back. I don't think they've used him quite properly, his talents, to get him the ball in open space. If you look at, so just last year, Ekeler had 70 catches. I think Gibson had 52. That's not a huge difference.
It's 52
right?
for 294 yards. There's a big difference in yardage.
Right. So the catches that Gibson are getting are usually just like, oh crap, the Taylor Heineke's bailouts. Let me dump it to him. But Ekeler, they're running plays for him. They're getting him the ball in space and using his talents. So I think I want to go with Gibson just because he has more upside. Ekeler is now, I think, going into his 7th year, so he's got a little bit more pounding on his body. But these 3 guys, man, Ekeler, so different. Ekeler, undrafted, right? Gibson, middle round, 3rd round. Barkley, the stud, number 2 overall pick out of Penn State. But Barkley, man, I'm too scared of his injury history already. I mean, his first year was amazing.
16 games started, 16 games played.
Yep. Yeah, and he had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage. Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think he had 20 touchdowns, maybe, something like that. Just ridiculous. But I like Gibson. I want Gibson. He's younger. He's got more upside. He can do both. He doesn't have the beating on his body that these other 2 guys seem to have. He missed a couple games here and there. I like Gibson. Gibson's going to be my starter.
All right.
I think that's fair. I think you brought up a lot of good points, and I'm going to, you guys always tease because I don't give mine first, so I'm going to give mine first right now. Are you happy? Are you happy?
For which one, though?
For the bench. For the
bench, and obviously then you know who I'm going to be cutting. And Stoner, I loved all that logic there, and that's why Gibson's on my bench. I'm going to actually cut the former number 2 overall pick there in Saquon Barkley. A lot of those reasons I think are exactly why. I mean, you have to be concerned about the injury. There are a lot of wear and tear. You got to remember Barkley was a premier rusher, used quite heavily there in Penn State. So he's got a lot more wear and tear on the body. One of the reasons why I didn't take him over Ekeler, and I can see the argument. And if fans want to tell me that, that Gibson needs to be starting over, all of these guys, that's great because I think there's a lot of merit there. The production just hasn't been quite the same though. And you touched on that, right? As Ekeler, the yards a touch for Antonio Gibson, as 4.4 a touch. So it means whenever he's getting the ball and he's going to get you about 4.4 yards, that's a significant drop from 5.6 with Ekeler. And that's one of the reasons why, like you said, I think that Scott Turner could do a better job using Gibson out of the backfield. This used to be a receiver. Why is he not in the slot? You see JD McKissick do that a lot. So there's something there that's missing that they're not doing that with him. They're trying to make him a pure runner, and he's had some success with that. But even then, he still hasn't been quite as successful as the other 2. But I'm going to take him because he has a little bit less wear and tear, and I think that there's some unlocked potential, and he's not coming off injury. So that's why I'm going to be benching Gibson. And I'm sorry, Saquon's out the door on this one.
Yeah.
Trev, do you agree? Disagree? Where are you going with this?
I'm disagreeing with you, buddy, old pal. Based off no stats, no injury, but all three running backs are healthy as an ox. Okay, I'm benching Saquon Barkley and I'm cutting Antonio Gibson, and here's my reason why. Antonio Gibson fumbles the ball way too many times in crucial parts of the football game. And his football smarts about when knowing to run out of bounds and when not to run out of bounds is a key factor in that too. We mentioned pass catching. Yeah, we mentioned pass catching. Saquon Barkley is probably the best out of all 3, maybe to a point. That could be debatable too. So why not bring him off the bench to replace Austin Ekeler? Because he has a little bit of an injury issue as well. All 3 do. Honestly, they do. But
running backs, all running backs do, right?
So, but when it comes to the crucial, we need a 3 yards for a first down to kill the clock out, and we give the ball to Gibby and he fumbles it, or we just make the defense makes a stop and we get the ball in their territory and Gibby fumbles it, or we let them drive down and we stop them and we take over deep in our territory and Gibby fumbles it. He's gone, man. We can find somebody else to replace him, no doubt. Running backs come a dime a dozen. So I'm benching Saquon Barkley and I'm cutting our good old boy, the commander, Antonio Gibson.
7 fumbles over the last 2 years. 6 of those come in this last season, which might kind of spoil some people's minds on that as far as that's concerned.
6 in 1 year?
Yeah, Barkley's done a good job holding on the ball. 3, 6. It doesn't
matter, bro. He gave the defense 6 chances to get it.
So you put the ball in the dirt 6 times. That's a problem. Yeah. I agree with that aspect, but I do think that's a little bit over. I think people really play too much into that. I mentioned Saquon only with the 3 fumbles in his career, 11 total for Ekeler, 4 last year for Ekeler. Now, you wanted to bring up fumbles. Before I get to Stoner, here's one fact for him as he goes into his idea here. The difference with all 3 of these running backs, in my opinion, is the ability to get into the end zone. And Gibson has that in spades. He already has 18 rushing touchdowns, just the 3 receptions. Those 18 rushing touchdowns, though, Barkley has 19 in 4 seasons.
Okay.
So 2 seasons for Gibson, and he's already there.
21 year, but okay.
No, he did have 11 rushing his first year, and then he had 4 receiving touchdowns. Barkley with total of 27 touchdowns in 4 years compared to 21 total for Gibson in just 2 years. So I think that knows for the end zone. Obviously, injuries played a part as far as that's concerned, but not so much like last year recovering from it, sure. But overall, Gibson has been more productive getting into the end zone, which I believe – I might have heard that from one of our other start bench cuts. We get a little crazy here. Start bench cuts. I think I remember hearing touchdowns was pretty important in that regard.
It is.
Ekeler,
we still lose.
Ekeler had 20 last year.
21
and they made the playoffs.
Touchdowns rushing in his career in those 5 years that he has. 24 receiving. So that kind of dual threat into the end zone, he's been doing really well. He did have 20 on the season last year, 12 rushing, 8 in receiving. So hearing that, Stoner, kind of laid it all out for you.
Yeah.
You have to choose now between Ekeler and Barkley.
Yeah, this whole thing has been really tough. When you look at Ekeler, he had 20, like you said, he had 20 touchdowns last year. I mean, that's an awesome year for a running back to have 20 combined touchdowns.
Yeah.
Eckler's going to be 27, 28 years old next year, right? Barkley is very young. I think he's only 25 next year. Okay. They've both had the same amount of touches, or very close to the same amount of touches. But Barkley has done it in just a few years, whereas Eckler's been doing it for a little bit longer, just because Barkley basically missed an entire year the 1 year for the blown knee.
Barkley 25 going into this next season. Ekeler will be 27.
Yeah. 27, man. You're getting up there for running backs. That's the age, man, where you just
Adrian Peterson. I don't want to hear it.
There's one. Adrian Peterson. Everybody
Frank
else.
Gore. Frank Gore.
I was about to say, don't diss my man Frank Gore. I love me some AD, but Frank Gore is
Frank Gore and Adrian Peterson. I can name you
Hall
about
of Fames.
200 running backs.
Running backs don't have a high shelf life.
Yeah,
we're not talking about 30 though. We're talking about Austin Ekeler's going to be 27 going in there.
Young, bro.
But like I said, they have about the same amount of touches. But Barkley's are mostly running touches.
Barkley's had more rushing, about 50 more rushes.
Who are you picking?
Ekeler.
But so my whole point is that they both got a lot of wear and tear in their body. So I'm going to take the younger guy, and I'm going to go with Barkley. He's going to be on my bench, and I'm going to cut.
There you go.
This whole thing, man, was really a tough one.
Because they're all pretty much the same running backs, just different ages and different experience in the league. That's it.
And different offenses.
Yeah.
You've had some poopy offenses in New York and Washington, whereas in LA, you've got this wide open offense that he's been able to excel in. I mean, you put either of these other two guys in the Chargers offense, and they might even exceed Ekeler.
Exactly.
Could be. I will say this about Barkley. I mean, I know that we've kind of put him on the wayside for a little bit.
He's nasty, bro.
But he's the only one who's really had an offense built around him. He's the only one I think that has that ability to really take over a game when healthy.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. When healthy.
He did it to us.
Yeah,
he did it to us
he's a guy who
he was healthy.
He's a guy who can have like 200 scrimmage yards in a game, and then the next game he'll have like 13. He just seems like he's a boom or bust type guy, whereas these other two are, they can do it from running and rushing, and they may not have great games or rushing and receiving, and they may not have great games, but they have productive games where Barkley can have an amazing game where you're like, oh my gosh, he's taking over, and then he'll have games where he's just not there.
But also, this also is a factor too. Just in hearing the name Saquon Barkley presents a threat, whether he's productive or not. Yeah. Defenses have the game plan around him. Whether it's like Austin Ekeler, it's like, okay, he's just another weapon, but like we don't have to really focus on him. And Gibby,
I agree,
same way. But when Saquon's like, we got a game plan for Saquon because he's the offense over there in New York, pretty much.
And now he's going to be 2 years removed from the knee surgery, and they usually say, you can play pretty well in that first year, but that second year, that's where you're healthiest.
I always thought his homeboy's legs were too big. That's why
that's what I thought too.
Serious? I'm not being funny. I'm being serious. Yeah. Like because
they're too big.
He's too shifty.
Too much.
Yeah, they're too big for him being so shifty as he wants to be as he was in Penn State. When you got in the league, it's like, bro, you're what's AJ Dillon from Green Bay? You're not AJ Dillon, bro. He's a power back. You're elusive, so your legs should be a little smaller. But who knows?
This was one of those to where it doesn't matter what either of you guys said. I wouldn't have had a big argument, unlike these other ones we've talked about, where I have a big problem with what you guys are saying.
I honestly
this particular one, you could have said anything, and I would have been okay. I'm okay with that.
I didn't think my pick until just now. I didn't think until
I do think a healthy Barkley here probably runs away with this. And I think that because he was injured so much is kind of where this made this kind of an interesting pick. New York Giants also looking to kind of shop him. So you kind of wonder, is he going to bounce back, like you said, Stoner, and have a healthy season where we get more of that rookie? Or is this last couple of years here that he's played at least 13 games and the best he can manage is the 4.6 yards an average, which isn't bad. It's not bad. 4.6 is pretty good. But then when you're, kind of looking overall what he's able to do, I think that's where this makes it most interesting. Yes.
What do you think Austin Ekeler or Saquon Barkley would do if they were here instead of Antonio Gibson? Same quarterback, same receiver, same offense that we have. Same. You think so?
Same results.
Yeah, really?
Absolutely. Unless they designed something differently for them, I don't see how they would necessarily do anything much better. I mean, Gibson is supremely talented.
He's probably better than what some of his statistics allow. And again, the fumbles, I think those are a little bit overblown. I'm gonna throw this out here. I'm ready for the comments. Okay, I think if Ekeler was here, he would produce more like J.D. McKissick than he would Antonio Gibson. I think that they would use him more as his pass catching side and very limited on the running side. Yeah. Not that he would not be productive, just that they wouldn't necessarily use him as that. So,
but what if we didn't have Gibby? But we had like, and we had J.D. McKissick instead of Gibby. We had Barkley or Ekeler, who would do better.
You'd probably see more Jarrett frickin' Patterson between the tackles.
Oh my God. Ekeler. That just shows you that our coaching is stupid. Yeah. Because
I think that they struggle sometimes to put the people in position. I don't think that they would use Barkley, even healthy his rookie season, quite the way that the Giants did. I think that they would try to fit him into their offensive scheme rather than kind of be like, hey, this guy is going to get us 2,000 yards from scrimmage, so we're going to just run him ragged. The number of touches, by the way, Stoner, you did mention that they were pretty close there. 849 for Barkley and 889, so 40 more touches really in the extra year that he's had, and that's been without that season. So,
and I will say this
spot on that
about Barkley too is that the Giants botched it by drafting him number 2 overall.
Yeah.
You don't draft
Too
a
high.
running back number 2 overall. That's just insane. As great as he was, what did they finish that year? Does anybody remember that in 2018? I mean, they've been
PFF will look it
dreadful
up
for
right
the
there.
last 10 years.
Yep, I
I'm
got you.
sure they were
I got
dreadful that year too.
PFF's on it right now. Hold on.
Oh
one second.
man, 5-11 is what they
Yeah.
finished with a point differential of -43.
Yeah,
Who's
and
their
they had the
quarterback?
best running back in the league that year, and they're 5-11.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was Daniel Jones, his first year. I think that sounds like Daniel Jones or Eli's last year. Maybe it was Eli's last year. But either way, he had an incredible year, one of the best rookie running back years in the last 20, and they went 5-11. You don't draft a running back number 2 overall. You draft a guy who has a little bit more impact on the game. So they botched that part. And now here they are. He's coming up, getting close to where they got to figure out if they're going to pick up his option. And I don't know if you do. I don't know if you do. If you pick up,
you don't. If you're basing it off of
option,
injuries, you don't. But if you base it off of potential production,
You probably don't pick up the option because that option costs you. It's essentially like a franchise tag. So you're going to be paying them. You're going to be paying him monster money, like for running backs, and I don't think you pick that up for that. By the way, it was Eli Manning's season.
There we go.
So
well, there you go.
I think that this is a pretty interesting one. I'm looking forward to seeing what you have in the comments. None of us have agreed completely. We might have agreed in certain parts, but at least the man in Burgundy and Gold made 2 of the 3 teams. Does he make your team? Let us know in the comments. And while you're there, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more great DC content, and catch us live on Wednesday at 7:30. We bring the heat on some Washington Commanders content. And until next time,
what?
Be a fan.